Oil and gas have long been our primary source of energy. Improvements in hydraulic fracturing techniques have led to more oil and gas wells being drilled across the U.S., creating jobs and fueling our everyday lives.
The oil and gas industry has a long and enviable history of developing and commercializing technologies that provide clean, abundant, cheap energy for the world. Over the last 50 years or so would be the advances in seismic imaging technology, deep water drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, and most recently horizontal drilling and fracture stimulation in the shale basins around the world. Reservoir technology has sort of reached the limits of what we can understand about the reservoir. We know what's there, we know where it is, but extracting and optimizing the production from these reservoirs has been challenging.
These fracturing treatments are very large, requiring the use of up to 10 to 30 million gallons of water or fluid, which is slightly viscosified for friction reduction. Generally around 25 million pounds of sand that is added to that as a proppant to keep the fractures open once the pressure is relieved. This slurry of the fluid and proppant is mixed on the surface and pumped using a great deal of horsepower into the reservoir over a period of 10-12 days, depending on how many stages are required to complete the well.
While many have raised concerns about the impact of these practices in recent years, new technology has been introduced that drastically improves our ability to recover oil and gas from the resource more effectively and responsibly.
The transport of the proppant is what allows it to get distributed throughout the fractures. Unfortunately, with sand, because it is as heavy, think of a rock being thrown into a lake, it sinks. Well, the same thing happens with sand particles in water. So it sinks to the bottom and makes it very difficult to get distribution of that sand throughout all this created fracture area.
Engineers are very aware of the fact that to get an effective frac, they've got to prop the well from the tip of the fracture all the way back to the wellbore. The issue they run into with this is the fluids that they're using to run these type of frac jobs are not designed to carry proppant. In conventional wells, we use very viscous fluids. The viscous fluids are cross-linked where the proppant will carry wherever the fluid goes.
Near-neutrally buoyant proppants are very different from today's conventional proppants. They're not a sand, they're not a ceramic, and they're not a sand coated with something to make it float. Near-neutrally buoyant proppants are a thermoset nanocomposite bead. When we pump the near-neutrally buoyant or NPBs downhole, we mix them with the sand. And then as they travel downhole in the fluid system, when you get to the fracture, the sand will sink to the bottom and the near-neutrally buoyant proppants then expand into the rest of the fracture.
By reducing the proppant settling, one can get that distribution of the proppant across majority of the created fracture area. That fracture area is critical to allow the influx of the oil and gas into the fracture to flow to the wellbore and then be produced to the surface.
Higher yielding and environmentally sustainable oil well production is becoming more possible. Sun Specialty Products is committed to improving and enhancing reservoir performance for the customers they serve, while building on 4 decades of innovation in resource development and community relationships built on trust and integrity.
One of the things we're looking at today is what we call responsible resource management. And responsible resource management is getting the most out of your reservoir with the least impact to the environment.
With the unconventional wells, somewhere between 10 and 20% is the estimate of, that is all the oil that is recovered from the reservoir area that has been treated. There are many reasons for this to be improved. 1, economics. 2, environmental. And 3, just energy security. The more we can get, the better we can utilize the resource in place, the better off we will all be.
With the introduction of NPBs and other hydraulic fracturing technologies, and a renewed focus on environmental, social, and governance goals, Sun Specialty Products is leading the way to a more sustainable oil and gas industry.
At Sun, we'll be building on a 40-year history of developing products and solutions that solve challenges for the energy industry, including challenges associated with the energy transition and the pathway to the future.
To learn more, contact us today.